Hello, guys. Good evening. My name is Zia, and this is Crypto Polaris. Welcome to the show. Do I have a show for you today? We're going to talk all about Circle Internet Group. What is that? We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Visa and Mastercard and how they are becoming old school, and Circle Internet Group. It just went public 2 weeks ago, and this is an exciting time to talk about Circle Internet Group and the impacts of that on Visa and Mastercard. So why don't we get started, guys? Okay, guys. So it's an exciting chart. Anybody remember this on the left? Anybody remember that? That is the Blackberry. And I am likening Blackberry to today's Visa and Mastercard and how they process credit cards. And what to the right is Circle Internet Group with their stablecoin solution, USDC. And that is really the topic that I want to drive home today, is how they are going to have their iPhone moment and Visa and Mastercard are going to have their Blackberry moment. And this is a huge market that Circle Internet Group is playing, and they are really roaring forward. And you can see that in their stock price. They just IPO'd 2 weeks ago, and they are doing really well. And they have shot up 9 times their opening price. So let's talk about all of that. Let's talk about how Circle is going to change this industry. We've got an agenda here, all right? So let's talk all about money and how the money moves, because this is all about financial re-engineering of how money moves vis-a-vis technology, specifically blockchain and the cryptography. Obviously, blockchain uses cryptography. So let's not confuse this with crypto. We're really talking about blockchain and how Circle Internet Group uses the blockchain to move money. And those are a lot of the details that I'm going to go through, all right? And then talk about what is all this buzz about Circle, and are they really going to take down Visa and Mastercard? Are they really going to have their iPhone moment? And what does that look like? And how Visa and Mastercard, if they don't change and they become very complacent, will they go and become the Blackberry? And we all know what happened to the Blackberry. Okay, and then talk about some of the future revenue cycles of Circle and what is their competitive advantage over Visa and Mastercard, and talk about what is the Circle payment network and what does the share of Circle, which trades on NYSE. It is a real regular company which happens to reinvent the financial systems as it relates to moving money. It is really going to put aside and push Visa and Mastercard when it comes to credit card processing. But Circle Internet Group is really much, much bigger than credit card processing. And I'm going to walk you through what that means. All right, let's talk about money and how money moves. Now, there is about arguably $130 trillion worth of cash or cash-like instruments that move around the world, okay? And the SWIFT and other types of mechanism that moves the money through wiring. Our focus is going to be in 2 areas for the purpose of today's discussion. One focus is going to be on cross-border payment, which is the remittance that happens from US. People are sending money to Philippines, Argentina, India, you name it. We're sending money out. And it's not just US, it's globally, all right? And how it takes 3 to 7 days to settle all these payments. SWIFT is very opaque. Once you put the money into the SWIFT system to move money, you really don't know what is happening, and you hope it shows up at the other end. And we'll talk about that. High fees goes without saying, and you can only use wiring during business hours. And focus number 2 is really credit card processing. Again, it has the same issues. It takes 3 to 7 days to settle behind the scene. Now, as far as the retail customers are concerned, we don't really feel that pain. But behind the curtain, the whole processing, and I'm going to show you some graphs and charts that's going to blow your mind. Why it's so complex, why there's so much money that goes behind the scenes. So a lot of these changes that you're going to hear about today really changes the back end. And front end, really not much will be changed. Card is going to look like a card, wallet is going to look like a wallet. Your Samsung Pay, your Galaxy Pay, your Apple Pay, they're all going to look the same, but what you send through it is going to be very different. And it's going to be primarily stablecoin called USDC and empowered by Circle Group. All right? So we'll talk about that. And of course, credit card processing. Did you know the merchants they have to pay the credit card processors 2.5% to 3% fees. With this solution, you'll see that those fees are no longer going to be charged, and it's probably going to be pennies compared to 2.5% to 3% on the transaction fee. And then, of course, we tackle the $400 billion worth of remittance industry and how the card processors' revenue, be it Visa, Mastercard, American Express, Discover, and others, altogether is about $1.5 trillion of revenue. And we're going to touch on that, how Circle can grow into that, and more than that, and the justification behind Circle's valuation 5 years from now, which I'm going to share with you. What happens to Circle if things execute the way I believe it's going to execute? What will the share price be? All right, so let's dive into this. Now, a little image here, guys. This is on-ramp to stablecoin. On the left-hand side, you got your cash, and I've done a video on stablecoin, so you can look at that video and try to understand what USDC is. But USDC is a stablecoin, which is a solution for Circle. Circle is a company that created USDC. It's a crypto, Zia. Yes, it's a crypto, but here's the beauty. You give them cash, they give you the same amount of crypto back in terms of USDC. So let's say you give $100 worth of cash, they'll give you $100 worth of stable USDC, and that never changes. So you can always go back and convert that into fiat, and you get your $100 back. And that is the beauty of stablecoin, in this case specifically USDC. All right, and all of that is going to be managed by Circle, and they use a Circle payment network to do that. All right, I wanted to show you why this is important. All the changes that are happening right now and the solution provided by Circle Network with respect to credit card processing. So what you're looking at is the current credit card processing, be it Visa, Mastercard, or American Express. On the upper left-hand side, you've got card holder. And I won't go through all of this. When you look at this, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different touch points. And every one of them are different companies. You got your merchants with this point of sale terminal, you got your card acquiring bank who's involved, you got your issuing bank who's involved. In the middle, you got your interchange of credit cards. All of these guys have to talk in sync. And there's some manual processes in there. And that is why it takes days. This is, by the way, authorization, step 1. So when you swipe your card at any retail store, they do all of this stuff to get the authorization. And anything breaks in the middle, it's a problem. So this is just authorization, guys. But the settlement of your money, meaning you spent $100 from the issuing bank and going all the way to the merchant's bank, which is the card acquiring bank, this is how the process works. Again, look at all these steps to transfer the money. It is not instantaneous, guys. It takes 3 to 5 days to settle. So that's why when you complain about some purchase and you want your money back, they say it takes 3 to 7 days. That's because they have to reverse all of these things. And it's very difficult. It's an accounting nightmare. There are people involved. There are different systems involved and lots of synchronization issues that happen that you don't hear about it, but it cost the back end billions of dollars. So now, the other part is the current international payment process. Let's say I live in the US and I want to send money all the way to Philippines. It's not like directly going to Philippines. It varies from country to country, but in this example, from US, I go to my bank. And from there, they send the money to a corresponding bank in US who has a relationship with corresponding bank B in Singapore. And then the money goes to them. Then they're going to have to manually code this SWIFT code to another bank in Philippines, which is the corresponding bank C. All of these have something called nostro vosto. That means you have to have the currencies locked up. And there are $27 trillion of the currency that is locked up under the SWIFT, which makes it so inefficient. It stays dormant so they can move the money around because it provides the liquidity. So USDC solves a lot of those liquidity problems. So you can see just to send the money from US to Philippines, so many entities are involved and it costs a lot of fees. So the solution is this. The solution is Circle Payment network. Everybody gets onto this, and look at that. Sender to the beneficiary, it goes through this network, no intermediaries, it settles almost instantaneously. And it's not opaque, you can see it, what is happening, and it's much, much better solution and cheaper solution, faster solutions, available 24/7 solution by Circle, okay? Now, what's all the buzz about Circle? I wanted to set the stage and really go through this. I'm not gonna touch on all of these. Circle, the formal name for the company, is Circle Internet Group. It really got started back in 2013. They went through a few gyrations, but they really launched and got into the crypto business in 2018, all right? They were backed by a lot of different companies, name brand companies like BlackRock, Fidelity, and others. And they really set out to create a transparent, accessible, and inclusive type of payment system to move money, okay? 2 weeks ago, they were listed on NYSE to go public. And what Circle Payment Network tries to do is they provide a platform, they provide a network, and they actually provide the market infrastructure that allows you to move all this money instantaneously, all right? Right now, they have USDC nationwide and globally available, but in Europe, they also have something called EURC stablecoin, which is similar to USDC. USDC is backed by dollar, EURC is backed by euro, all right? So at the end of the day, if you are following this stablecoin, what is happening at the United States Senate and US House of Representatives, just a few days ago, the Senate passed the Genius Act, which is extremely favorable for Circle and USDC. And stay tuned why Circle and USDC is going to become the largest stablecoin. And we'll get into that. So this is going to be signed by Donald Trump. And before you know it, you are transmitting USDC. You don't even know that you are not sending fiat money. And that's how things change, just like that. Competitive advantages for Circle and USDC. I've touched on many of these previously, but it really is near real-time settlement. And it's available 24/7, guys. You don't have to wait for Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. When the banks are open, it's open in one country, it's not open in another country. All of that disappears. The fees are pennies, guys. It is compared to standard fiat money moving through SWIFT can be $50 to $75, okay? And then there is no foreign exchange spread. When you try to send USD to euro as euro, the currency can fluctuate. So you don't have that spread issue because you're sending USDC, which is stable. And with respect to regulatory compliance, as you can tell, the Genius Act was signed and approved, and it will be signed by Donald Trump sometime in September and October. Then this will be off to the races, guys. Future of Circle and Circle Payment Network. Everything that I've shown you so far, I only talked about the ones in yellow: remittance and credit card processing. Even with this, the company just started. They did $1.7 billion worth of revenue. They haven't even started. And I'll show you some numbers, okay? They are going to get into all of these other bullet points that you see in white: banking, financial institute, using USDC to transfer money, settle things, corporate and business transactions. There's so many things that happen in the world of investments, education, travel, healthcare, DeFi, on and on. And the key here is stablecoin, specifically USDC, is a programmable money. Guys, you'll also hear the term smart contract, fancy way of saying it's programmable. So a lot of the things can auto trigger and the money moves by itself. You don't need any middleman to do that, all right? That is the beauty of this. And all of these things, as they expand into all of these in white, the valuation of Circle is going to grow and grow and grow. All right. Can Circle grow at least 10x in 5 years? So let's take a look at some real numbers. So I got 3 columns here: Visa, Mastercard, and Circle, all right? So the global payment processed in 2024, just under Visa, as it relates to credit card and debit card, is almost $13 trillion that they processed. Mastercard, almost $10 trillion. Circle just started, only $1.4 trillion. They've got a long way to go to catch up on credit card only side of the business. So the revenue for Visa, you can see 36 billion. Mastercard, $28 billion. Obviously, they get most of their revenues through those 2.5%, 3% fees. So they will be impacted. And if you haven't noticed, their stock price have been going down since the Genius Act has passed, which favors Circle. All right. PE and earnings per share, I put that in here so we can talk about this as I project by 2030 what the price prediction would be. Okay, guys, this is not financial advice. This is just my calculation for the purpose of education and some entertainment. But when you look at this, look at the PE right now. And this is trailing 12-month PE, I believe. 35x, 38x for Visa Mastercard respectively. And then Circle is all way out of whack right now at 2400 PE. Their share price has gone from IPO of $26 to $250 in a matter of 2 weeks, because people are thinking, wow, what does the future look like? This is really the iPhone of this industry, and Visa and Mastercard are Blackberries of this industry. It's going to be transformed, all right? So Circle obviously is not very impressive. Earnings per share, only 80 cents. 99% of their earnings come from the USDC that they get. Right now, they have about $60 billion worth of USDC that they've taken in the fiat. They take that fiat and put it into US Treasury and make interest on that. And that is primarily how they make their earnings right now. And they are opening up other ways to make money, okay? These are some of the key factors, what's going to drive the price by 2030. And, you know, the market growth, people are predicting the stablecoin market. Today, right now, the total stablecoin is about $250 billion. They're predicting in 5 years, it's going to be $3 to $5 trillion. And I'm going to use $3 trillion as an example. And today's market is 250 billion. Of that, about 60 billion belongs to USDC, okay? And then regulatory environment, it's looking really good for Circle. Revenue diversification, they've just started. I've shown you all those white bullets under the yellow. Those are all the areas they're going to focus on to grow their revenue beyond the interest. And then, of course, their number one competitor is Tether right now, USDT. They own 67% of that 250 billion. But USDC is in trouble in a sense from a compliance perspective. They don't necessarily just hold USD, they hold loans, they hold Bitcoin, they hold other types of instruments to do the one-to-one peg. That's why you see this fluctuate above $1 or sometimes below $1. They have had some issues with compliance. And when it comes to compliance, Circle is very pristine and backed by US Congress. So this is all happening, all right? Now, price prediction. Circle's price, as I looked it up, is around $240. Let it all calm down. And after IPO, I think it's going to settle around $125, and we'll see from there. So right now, their market cap is 53 billion. And I'm going to calculate based on how much USDC they have on balance, which is 61 billion. And that means they own 24% of the 250 billion in total stablecoin supply, right? Using 24%, you get to 2030, and the supply, let's say hypothetically, gets to $3 trillion. $3 trillion. And I think there's going to be a shift. And I'm going to be a little generous and say USDC grows to 45%. So 45% of 3 trillion is 1.35 trillion. And then 24% of 3 trillion is 732 billion, okay? So now, my goal really, scroll down quite a bit and look where it says current EPS. My goal right now is how can I take 80 cents as an earnings per share and to get to the levels of Visa and MasterCard. Visa is around 10, MasterCard's around 12. So I said on a minimum, the earnings per share needs to get to $8. And this is 5 years down the road. Or on the high side, maybe it goes to $12. It's quite achievable by Visa and MasterCard. And they're going to eat into Visa and MasterCard's market share and grow into other market shares, guys. Given all of that, when you multiply this out, you at 10 times $125, you get to $1,250 per share. Or on the high side, 15 times, you get to $1,875 by 2030. So these are my price predictions, guys. I thought about this quite a bit, and I think this makes sense in 5 years because the growth in so many different ways. I think Circle is poised to get this right. So I'm super excited about this. Keep an eye on the Circle stock. And guys, thank you for coming. My name is Zia. This is Crypto Polaris. If you liked everything, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on your notification. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.